Hello gentle listeners, and welcome back to episode 13 of Whispers of the Past. I'm your host, Josh, and today we're journeying back to the very heart of ancient Mesopotamia, to a time when the first cities rose along the banks of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, and where gods were believed to walk among mortals, shaping the very foundations of society. Today, we'll be exploring the fascinating story of one of the most important deities of the Sumerian pantheon, Enki. While he may not be as widely known today as Zeus, Odin, or Ra, Enki's influence was immense, stretching across wisdom, magic, creation, and even the art of civilization itself. His role in ancient Sumeria is complex and multifaceted, so join me as we uncover who Enki was and why he played such a critical role in the ancient world. To understand Enki's significance, we first need to understand the world and time in which he was worshipped. Ancient Mesopotamia, often dubbed the cradle of civilization, was home to some of the earliest known human societies. It was a region of stark contrast. Vast deserts and fertile river valleys, scorching summers and bitter winters, famine and abundance. And at the center of this world, for the Sumerians, was water, the life-giving force that made civilization possible. It's no coincidence, then, that Enki, the god of water, would be one of the most revered deities. His domain was the Abzu, a vast subterranean ocean of fresh water believed to lie beneath the Earth's surface. The Sumerians saw this hidden, untapped reservoir as the source of life itself, the wellspring from which all rivers flowed, nourishing crops and livestock, enabling cities to thrive in the arid landscape. But for Enki, water wasn't just about survival. It symbolized cleansing, renewal, and the life force that perpetuated the cycle of creation. What's remarkable about Enki is how deeply interconnected he was with the growth of civilization. He wasn't just a god of nature or a distant deity observing from the heavens. Enki was a god who actively participated in the creation and development of human society. He bestows wisdom and practical knowledge on humankind, teaching them how to irrigate fields, construct cities, create laws, and write records. In fact, writing itself, the art of cuneiform, was often attributed to him. Without these gifts, humanity would have remained primitive, unable to build the complex societies that emerged in Mesopotamia. Enki's wisdom was not limited to abstract philosophical ideas. It was practical, grounded in the reality of human needs. He gave people the tools to thrive, to survive, and to progress. In this way, he is often seen as the architect of civilization itself, a god who shaped human destiny with intellect and innovation. One of the most significant roles Enki plays in mythology is that of the organizer of the universe, a role he takes up in the Sumerian version of the Babylonian creation myth, the Yuna Elish, while the later Babylonian myth places Marduk, the patron god of Babylon, in the spotlight. Sumerian tradition gives Enki a pivotal role in establishing the order of the cosmos. In the beginning, there was chaos, primordial waters swirling in disarray. Out of this swirl, the waters divided into sweet, fresh water, known as the god Abzu, and salty, bitter water, the goddess Tiamat. It was Enki who brought balance to this chaos, setting the stars and planets in their proper places, and establishing the laws of nature that governed the heavens and the earth. His divine intelligence allowed him to foresee the structure that the universe needed. He assigned the gods their roles, granting them control over the seas, the winds, and the earth. Enki's wisdom ensured that the natural world functioned as a harmonious system, with each element serving its purpose in the grand design. His role as a cosmic architect illustrates his power not just as a god of water, but as a god of balance, intelligence, and order. Enki's role as a problem solver and meditator is another key part of his character. In Sumerian mythology, the gods were not perfect beings. They had emotions, rivalries, and made mistakes, much like humans. Enki's intelligence often made him the god who could fix these divine mistakes and bring resolution to conflicts among the gods. He had the ability to meditate between them, offering solutions that would restore balance and prevent catastrophic outcomes. A clear example of this can be seen in the myth of the Epic of Atrahasis, one of the earliest flood stories in human history, predating the story of Noah's Ark by centuries. In this myth, the gods grow frustrated with humanity's noise and decide to destroy them with a great flood. The leader of this decision is Enki's brother, Enlil, the storm god, who believes the only way to bring peace to the world is to wipe out humankind. But Enki, always a protector of life, sees the injustice in this decision. Rather than directly opposing the other gods, he uses his cunning. He secretly warns Atrahasis, a wise and pious man, instructing him to build a boat to save himself, his family, and animals. When the flood waters eventually recede, it's Enki who negotiates new arrangements with the gods, convincing them that humanity need not be destroyed and that a balance can be struck. The flood myth gives us a profound insight into Enki's character. While other gods acted impulsively or out of anger, Enki's actions were guided by a deep sense of compassion and understanding. He recognized the value of life and sought to preserve it, even if it meant going against the will of his fellow gods. His wisdom wasn't just knowledge, it was tempered with empathy. This combination of intelligence and care is what made Enki so beloved among the Sumerians. He wasn't a distant or indifferent god, he was a protector, always working in the best interest of humanity, even when it put him at odds with his divine peers. But Enki wasn't always the serious meditator. He also had a playful and mischievous side, as seen in the story of Inanna and the May. The May were the fundamental powers that governed every aspect of life and civilization. Everything from law and kingship to love, music, and craftsmanship. These divine decrees were kept by Enki and his temple in the Abzu, making him the guardian of civilization's most essential forces. Inanna, the goddess of love, war, and fertility, coveted these powers for her own city of Uruk. One day, she visited Enki, and the two engaged in a drinking contest. As Enki became increasingly intoxicated, Inanna persuaded him to give her the May. When Enki sobered up and realized what he had done, he was furious. He sent demons to chase Inanna and retrieve the May, but she, being as clever as Enki, outwitted him and managed to bring the May safely to her city. This story reveals another layer to Enki's character. He wasn't just a wise and serious god, he had moments of fallibility, where his mischievous nature and love of fun led to unpredictable outcomes. But even in this, we see that his intentions were never malevolent. Inanna's trickery shows that the gods themselves could be playful, and the boundaries of power and control were not always rigid. It also highlights a certain humility in Enki. After all, even though he tried to get the May back, he did not resort to excessive violence or wrath once they were lost. He allowed the course of events to unfold, suggesting that even he accepted that some things were beyond control. Enki's wisdom also extended beyond problem-solving among the gods or matters of the cosmos. He played a crucial role in shaping the concept of kingship and governance in ancient Mesopotamia. According to Sumerian belief, it was Enki who gave humankind the Nam Lugal, the divine right to rule. This sacred gift legitimized the authority of kings, establishing the rulers of cities like Ur and Uruk as representatives of divine will on earth. Kings weren't simply political leaders. They were stewards of the gods, chosen to maintain the balance and harmony that Enki had helped create. This concept of divine kingship was fundamental to Mesopotamian society and would influence political structures across the ancient world. Through Enki's teachings, rulers learned to govern with fairness, justice, and wisdom. The ancient Sumerians believed that laws, especially the famous legal codes like Hammurabi's, were guided by Enki's wisdoms. These laws, inscribed in stone, were seen as reflections of the order Enki established in the universe, a means of keeping human society functioning within the natural order. Enki's influence can be traced into the emphasis on fairness, justice, and protecting the vulnerable that was common in Mesopotamian legal traditions. While Enlil might have been seen as a god of kingship by power and might, Enki's kingship was based on intelligence, wisdom, and the well-being of the people. Enki's influence extended far beyond the myths. His wisdom shaped the very structures that governed ancient societies. One of the lesser-known but fascinating stories about Enki is his involvement in the creation of humans themselves. In Sumerian mythology, humans were not just created for their own sake, but rather to serve a specific purpose, to lighten the burden of the gods. The gods, according to myth, had grown tired of performing laborious tasks such as farming and maintaining the earth. It was Enlil, the god of storms, who proposed the creation of a servant race, humans, to take on these tasks. But the actual creation process was left to Enki and the mother goddess Ninhursag. The story goes that Enki and Ninhursag worked together, molding humans out of clay, which was mixed with the blood of a slain god to imbue them with life. This connection between clay and the earth underscores the idea that humanity was fundamentally tied to the elements of nature, and it was Enki's breath, his divine spark, that brought these lifeless figures to consciousness. This gift of life, however, came with a price, as humans were expected to toil and serve the gods through offerings and labor. But Enki's role in this process reveals more than just his powers as a creator. It shows his compassion and concern for the well-being of humankind. Unlike some other deities, Enki did not see humans merely as tools for divine convenience. He saw humans as his children, his creations, and therefore felt solely responsible to guide and protect them. He took steps to ensure that humans were equipped with the intelligence and skills necessary to not only survive, but to thrive. Enki's gifts to humanity, such as knowledge of irrigation, writing, and construction, were essential in transforming them from a primitive, servile race into a flourishing civilization. His creation of humanity wasn't simply an act of utility, it was an act of care. He wanted to see humans succeed, to build cities, to create art, and to govern themselves wisely. This is why Enki was often seen as a protector of humanity, constantly meditating between the gods and mortals to ensure their survival and prosperity. Another myth that highlights Enki's role as a protector and benefactor of humanity is the story of Enki and the world order. This myth illustrates how Enki, after establishing the fundamental aspects of civilization, continued to oversee and guide the proper distribution of resources and responsibilities across the world. In this myth, Enki organizes the cosmos, assigning specific roles and duties to each god and element of nature, ensuring that everything in the universe functions in harmony. What's particularly interesting about this myth is the way Enki personally distributes blessings and resources. He travels to different regions and cities, bestowing gifts of abundance, fertile lands, healthy rivers, prosperous trade routes upon the people, allowing them to thrive. Enki's journey shows his intimate involvement with the physical world, as he personally ensures that the Earth's resources are allocated fairly and wisely. Each city or region he visits benefits from his wisdom and his ability to manage the delicate balance between nature and society. This myth emphasizes Enki's role not just as a creator, but as a manager of the world's order, a god who continuously works to maintain harmony and prosperity for both gods and humans alike. Enki's influence wasn't limited to grand cosmic acts or the crafting of humanity. He was also a god of personal interaction and intimacy, particularly in how he governed the relationships between humans and gods. One of the most famous myths in which Enki plays a central role is the story of the goddess Ninhursag and for curation of plants. In this tale, Enki's curiosity and involvement in the natural world led to both conflict and healing, showcasing another dimension of his personality, his fallibility, and his ability to make amends. The myth begins with Ninhursag creating 8 sacred plants, a symbol of nature's fertility and abundance. Enki, curious by nature, becomes intrigued by these plants and decides to consume them all, thus disrupting the natural balance. This angers Ninhursag, who curses Enki by making him gravely ill. His body begins to waste away, and none of the gods can cure him. It is only when Ninhursag is convinced to return and forgive Enki that she heals him, giving birth to 8 deities from the parts of Enki's bodies that were ailing. Each new deity represents a different force of nature, symbolizing the idea that, from Enki's misstep, new life and balance could emerge. This myth offers profound insight into Enki's character. Even though he was a god, he was not immune to mistakes, and his curiosity, while often a strength, could sometimes lead him astray. But what sets Enki apart is his humility. He does not seek revenge or engage in destructive conflict when cursed. Instead, he waits, trusting in the process of reconciliation, allowing Ninhursag to return and restore balance. This myth shows that even gods must sometimes face the consequences of their actions, and that healing, both divine and human, often comes through understanding and forgiveness. Enki's association with water also plays a vital role in his function as a god of healing and purification. As the lord of the Abzu, the source of all fresh water, Enki's waters were seen as life-giving and regenerative. This is reflected in ancient Sumerian practices, where water was often used in rituals to purify and cleanse both individuals and spaces. Water, in this sense, became an extension of Enki's wisdom, capable of not only sustaining life, but also restoring balance and health. In fact, Enki was frequently involved in magical incantations for healing and protection, as his waters were believed to have the power to wash away illness, evil spirits, and curses. One particularly interesting aspect of Enki's healing abilities comes from his knowledge of secret rituals and incantations. As a god of wisdom, Enki held dominion over the arcane arts, knowing the sacred words and gestures that could unlock the universe's deepest mysteries. His magic was not chaotic or malevolent, but rather a tool for restoring harmony. In many Sumerian myths, Enki is called upon to perform rituals that heal the sick, bring fertility to barren lands, or reverse curses cast by other gods. His magical knowledge was considered a gift to humanity, passed down through priests and healers who invoked his name when performing their own rituals. In this way, Enki's presence continued to be felt in everyday life, as people relied on his wisdom to solve both the physical and spiritual challenges they faced. Finally, I want to talk about Enki's enduring legacy. Though ancient Sumerian civilization eventually gave way to the rise of Babylon, Assyria, and later empires, the influence of Enki remained strong. In Babylonian mythology, Enki was later synchronized with the god Ea, maintaining many of the same attributes of wisdom, creation, and water. Even as religious practices shifted and new gods took precedence, Enki's presence endured, his myths being told and retold through generations. Today, Enki's legacy can still be seen in modern culture. His archetype, the wise and compassionate meditator, the problem solver, the protector of life, resonates deeply. He represents a model of leadership that prioritizes intellect over force, empathy over dominion, and balance over chaos. In a world often defined by conflict and power struggles, Enki's myths offer us an ancient but still relevant reminder that true strength comes not from might, but from wisdom and understanding. As we conclude today's episode, I'd like you to reflect on the figures in your life who embody the spirit of Enki. those who solve problems, protect, and seek wisdom not for personal gain, but for the betterment of others. Enki's myths are ancient, but the themes they explore, compassion, wisdom, and the delicate balance of life, are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Thank you for joining me today on Whispers of the Past as we explored the fascinating world of Enki, the Sumerian god of wisdom and water. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and send me a review or suggestions for future episodes to whispersofthepastreviews@gmail.com. See you next time.